He was the man next door, the guy who baked your daughter's birthday cake, the man who smiled at your wife as she walked past. All the while, he was waiting for darkness, waiting to fly again. In Los Angeles, a city of extremes, where red carpets stretched just miles from impoverished neighborhoods riddled with decay, one man managed to live in the space between. He was a father, a mechanic, and for over 2 decades, Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was also one of the most prolific serial killers the city had ever known. He was born on August 30th, 1952, in south-central Los Angeles, a place already marked by economic disparity and racial segregation. His early life gave little indication of the predator he would become. He was raised in a working-class home, the second of 4 children. Teachers remembered him as quiet, polite, unremarkable. By the time he entered Fremont High School, Franklin had found some semblance of identity through machinery. He was skilled with his hands and often fixed bikes or electronics for neighbors. But that skill also gave him a dangerous kind of self-sufficiency. He knew how things worked, and more importantly, how to make sure no one knew what he was doing. After graduating, Franklin enlisted in the US Army in the early 1970s. While stationed in Stuttgart, West Germany, he and 2 fellow soldiers committed a brutal gang rape of a teenage girl at gunpoint. They were arrested, and Franklin was sentenced to a year in a military prison. He served only a few months before receiving a dishonorable discharge. That crime, so violent and cold, foreshadowed the acts he would commit decades later, but no one back home ever spoke of it. He returned to South Los Angeles and quickly blended in. He got a job as a sanitation worker, collecting garbage from alleys and streets, the very alleys where years later, his victims would be dumped. Later, he became a mechanic, fixing cars in his front yard, earning a reputation as a reliable man who always had a joke or story ready. He married, had children, and lived on 81st Street, right in the heart of the community he would later terrorize. The first confirmed murder came in 1985. Deborah Jackson, 29, was found shot 3 times in the chest and discarded behind a dumpster. Over the next 3 years, the bodies of black women began appearing with alarming frequency. Most were nude or partially clothed, and all bore the signs of sexual assault and execution-style killings. Many were struggling with addiction, some involved in sex work. All lived on the margins, vulnerable and too often invisible. Despite the pattern, the murders were not initially treated as the work of a serial killer. Victims were dismissed by police as casualties of drug violence or street crime. The media paid little attention, but in the community, fear grew. Women whispered of a man cruising the streets in a rusted orange and white van, offering rides. Survivors told stories of being lured, attacked, and then inexplicably let go. No composite sketches were circulated. There were no citywide alerts. The killer continued. By 1988, the killing stopped, or so it seemed. The LAPD's investigation stalled. Cases went cold. Public pressure waned. But many believed the murders had never truly ended. They just weren't being linked. In truth, Lonnie Franklin had simply adapted. He was calculating, precise. He learned from every killing, avoided patterns, changed vehicles, cleaned meticulously. He watched the news. He knew when to disappear. Then, in 2002, another woman was found.